Tell me, brother, it's been a long time. What have you been up to? Have you been on the spaceships lately? What does the Galactic Federation say about this final stage of this reset with Iran? Now, Trump actually went to China a little early, and they gave him a grandiose welcome like never before. No president in the history of America has ever received this warm welcome. Tell us what's front and center. Tell us what we need to know, and tell us, when does this thing end? What are they telling you, the Galactics? And when do we get our riches?
One of the biggest misconceptions is that China and the US are enemies, but technically they have one common enemy, and that is the old world order. So what we're seeing here is something bigger than just two superpowers meeting. We're talking about a full planetary restructuring. This ties in with what's been going on with Iran, with the Strait of Hormuz, and ultimately with the ending of what we call petrochemical industries. The Galactic Alliance, which is the benevolent, positive ET races, we're a Galactic Federation, but there was a form of infiltration took place, so they had to reorganize. They have been actually working 24/7 with the Earth Alliance, which is who we call the Y Hats, to bring in the advanced interstellar technology. And so along with the new financial system, which is backed by precious metals, gold, silver, all that good stuff, we're also seeing a new grid, which is called the Quantum Freedom Grid, which is going to be the replacement of the old Cabal grid that they've been using for the last few thousand years. And so we're also going to be seeing how all of this is part of a huge global restructuring. So members of the alliance are the main three superpowers. You have the US, you have Russia, and then you have China. And despite what we hear in the Mockingbird media, Xi Jinping is actually on board with Trump in regards to the rollout of advanced space-age technologies. So the reason Trump and Xi Jinping met yesterday, and yeah, I mean, he received a red carpet entry. That was pretty cool, you know. No other president within the history of our country has ever received such a welcoming extravaganza like the way Trump did. The reason being is because, you know, you have two types of civilizations. You have one that is what we consider the surface world, which is, you know, we're entering this golden age. It's not only been prophesied about, but thanks to Nikola Tesla and John Trump, they were able to, because they did perfect time travel before the military-industrial complex did, they were able to secure every probable future Earth timeline and victory of the Alliance. And so no matter what happens, my friends, we are going to be witnessing a huge transformation on planet Earth, on every level of reality.
A structure so deeply embedded, most of those inside it don't even realize what they are a part of. Institutions you trusted operating within a framework you were never meant to question. And while you worked, struggled to survive, something bigger was moving behind the curtain. In this documentary, we exposed the largest financial deception in the history of mankind. Not with options, but with evidence. Irrefutable, irrevocable, undeniable. This is not about politics. This is about power. This is about control. And most importantly, this is about you. Because the moment you truly see it, the illusion collapses. The distractions lose its grip. The noise disappears. And the question becomes unavoidable. When this film is released, the truth will no longer be hidden. It will be undeniable, uncontainable, unstoppable. My job is to expose it. Your job is to make sure the world sees it. Now, will you have the courage to face it, to share it, to break free from the system, that was designed to keep you enslaved forever? Or will you ignore the greatest revolution of our time? The truth is here. You will either stand up and help us dismantle the Matrix, or the Matrix will enslave you and your family for 1,000 years to come. The choice is yours. God knows I did my job.
Well, folks, we got him. It's been a long time since Mr. Ishmael Perez has made his way onto the Mel Carmine show, but he is knowledgeable like you can't believe. This guy travels with the Galactic Federation, who's connected to Space Force that was created by Donald Trump. Donald Trump has created the crypto. He's into the crypto. I believe the Galactic Federation has a lot to do with it. I think the military has a lot to do with this crypto world that we're about to embark on, this new financial facelift, if you will. And yes, it's taking a long time, but that's life. C'est la vie, as the French say, right? So we just keep chugging and going forward and make money with staying alive, make money by selling gold, make money with a couple of dollars with doing a couple of events here and there and trying to survive like everybody else. Tell me, brother, it's been a long time. What have you been up to? Have you been on the spaceships lately? What does the Galactic Federation say about this final stage of this reset with Iran? Now, Trump actually went to China a little early, and they gave him a grandiose welcome like never before. No president in the history of America has ever received this warm welcome. The Chinese people, it looks like, at least on the outside, that they love Donald Trump. Tell us what's front and center. Tell us what we need to know, and tell us, when does this thing end? What are they telling you, the Galactics? And when do we get our riches? Welcome to the Mel Carmine show, Ishmael. It's been a while.
Thank you, Mel. Well, first and foremost, one of the biggest misconceptions is that China and the US are enemies, but technically they have one common enemy, and that is the old guard, the old world order. So what we're seeing here is something bigger than just two superpowers meeting. We're talking about a full planetary restructuring. And this ties in with what's been going on with Iran, with the Strait of Hormuz, and ultimately with the ending of what we call the petrochemical industries. So the Galactic Alliance, which is the benevolent positive ET races that were a Galactic Federation, but there was a form of infiltration that took place, so they had to reorganize. They have been actually working 24/7 with the Earth Alliance, which is who we call the Y Hats, to bring in the advanced interstellar technology. And so along with the new financial system, which is backed by precious metals, gold, silver, all of that good stuff, we're also seeing a new grid, which is called the Quantum Freedom Grid, which is going to be the replacement of the old cabal grid that they've been using for the last few thousand years. And so we're also going to be seeing how all of this is part of a huge global restructuring. So members of the alliance are the main three superpowers. You have the US, you have Russia, and then you have China. And despite what we hear in the mockingbird media, Xi Jinping is actually on board with Trump in regards to the rollout of advanced space age technologies. So the reason Trump and Xi Jinping met yesterday, and yeah, I mean, he received a red carpet entry. That was pretty cool. No other president within the history of our country has ever received such a welcoming extravaganza like the way Trump did. Well, the reason being is because, you have two types of civilizations. You have one that is what we consider the surface world, which is what we are here on Earth. And then you have a tier 2 breakaway group. And within the tier 2 breakaway group, commonly known as these secret space programs, you have two factions. You have one negative faction that has been working with negative ETs, such as the Draco reptilians, Zetas, Greys, and a few other insectoids, who are commonly known as the Negative Alien Agenda Syndicate Group, or the Orion Group, as they call themselves. And then you also have Tier 2, which is a secret space program that broke away from the agenda of world domination, and in fact has been trying to do everything in their power to bring in and bridge the gap between the breakaway groups and the surface world. So within the last few months, I would say even within the last few years, part of this global takedown of the cabal, the cleaning out of the underground facilities, the rescuing of little children, the taking out of deep military underground bases, blowing them up and all that stuff, which has all been orchestrated by the alliance. It's all designed to pretty much destroy the old guard. And so the reason Xi Jinping received Trump the way he did is because Trump is, through Space Force, is bleeding through the tier 2 breakaway groups technology into the surface reality. But in order to do so, the current methodologies in which we've been using energy have to collapse. And that includes, petrochemical companies, that includes the pharmaceutical cartel, as well as burning plants, or what is it, getting energy from plants, oil, combustion. All of that stuff needs to be dismantled so that the alliance could have an excuse to bring forth technologies that are more suitable to the environment, technologies that actually work, technologies that not only put an end to the pollution, clean up the ecosystem, but of course, technologies that will heal every illness, every disease known to man, which is what we've been calling the healing modalities. Now, most people are only familiar with the quantum, what they call the medical med, but the healing medical bed. But there are different, you could say, types of advanced medical healings. You have holographic regenerators, you have medical pods that are called cocoon chambers. And a lot of these modalities were actually given to us, the good guys that is, by the benevolent ETs like the Arcturians, as well as the Andromedans and Pleiadians. So that's who we've been inheriting our technology from. And as I speak, the governments of this world, and this is also part of the reason why they met with Xi Jinping, is because, most people think that here in the States, we were tasked to disclose all the classified information regarding UFOs, UAPs, and all that stuff, the non-terrestrial presence, the Greada treaty that was signed back in 1945. Well, it was where Eisenhower was forced to sign. Let's just be real. By the time Eisenhower came into power, the military-industrial complex was already in control of the U.S. government. And so all of that is not just scheduled to be released here within the States, but now we have India on board. We have Russia. So Putin is also releasing a lot of information regarding the UFOs and non-human presence. China was just briefed on how they also have to release their documents and all of the classified information that they've been holding. So what we're seeing here is a re-merging of tier 2 breakaway groups that are about 900 years ahead of the general public in technology, and of course the surface world. And what that's going to be doing for humanity is that's going to catapult us into a golden age pretty much almost overnight, once they have the quantum freedom grid fully intact, which is going to be connected to the quantum financial system, which is going to cause what we call the positive reset, right? There's two forms of resets. You have the old CBDC, central banking, what we called global system. And then you have the GCR, which is the revaluation of the, SIM, Dong, the Iraqi dinar, and of course, XRP going skyrocket and being the only one standing after everything else collapses. So it's all part of a global restructuring. And even more so, my friend, all of these loose-knit countries that have been pretty much controlled by these globalists are all also going to be collapsing. And we're going to be seeing a new world structure emerging as a result of the complete annihilation and elimination of the cabal. We're going to be seeing a federated restructuring of certain countries that are going to be actually conglomerating into super states. And these super states are going to be running like a republic. And each one's going to have its own infrastructure. So you have Russia that is expanding into the Russian Federation, and you have the North American Federation. Once we finish cleaning up the criminal networks and the drug cartels in the Americas, which is already in progress, we just don't hear about it. Cuba was next after, Venezuela. But all of the mafias are scheduled to be purged here in the Americas. And once we have all that done, and then once we have Canada also becoming the 51st state, and then with Greenland, the 52nd state, then we're going to be seeing the North American Federation, which is what I call the Peacock Federation. There's names to these federations, to these super states that are actually replacing the old order and their centralized structure of control. So yeah, what we're seeing again, it's a restructuring of the entire planet, as the Earth gets prepared to enter what we call the space era. And so this explains Elon Musk and all of these top geniuses that traveled with him over to China. This is all about also creating an interplanetary defense force. So not only are they trying to, Space Force that is trying to build a golden dome here in the Americas, but the golden dome is also going to be shared. And this was part of the meeting with Xi Jinping, was to share how advanced we are within the private sector. And Xi Jinping knows about that, but he didn't know how advanced the US was within the private sector, considering the fact that the benevolent positive breakaway group known as Solar Warden is now, of course, bleeding through the Space Force. So yeah, we're definitely seeing a huge restructuring where the entire planet is going to be under some sort of a golden dome, as the Galactic Alliance, previously known as the Federation, is going to give the new world, you could say, I don't want to call it New World Order, but it's a restructuring of the older order into a decentralized infrastructure, allowing humans to have access to free energy, healing modalities, anti-gravity aircraft, hover cars. I mean, all that stuff is going to be rolled out within the next few years. But before they do so, the Galactic Alliance is forcing. And what I mean by forcing is that the governments of this world have a deadline. If they don't release everything that they've been hiding from the general public, including those secret meetings that took place in Area 51 and in other places worldwide, then the Galactics are going to execute what they call an emergency intervention protocol. And what that means is that by the end of the year, let's just say sometime in November, if the governments of this world fail to comply, we're going to start seeing massed appearances worldwide, mothercraft hovering over huge major cities. And when that happens, and if it gets to that point, then how are they going to conceal all of that? So yeah, right now the Galactic Alliance is putting fire under everybody's butt to release everything that they've been hiding from us for the last 80 years. And of course, a lot of this ties in with not only the elimination of the cabal as we know it, who, by the way, are only hanging by a thread. I think they're only about 5% in power. The 95% has been contained by the alliance, which is a good thing. The White Hats have been kicking ass since 2016. They just cleared out one of the biggest underground tunnels that connected New York all the way to under the Colorado airport, and that was huge. So they had underground railing systems connecting apparently they had also cities. And again, a lot of this is connected to the Jeffrey Epstein files that are being released. You know, what was happening in Sorrow Ranch and what was happening in these underground facilities. I mean, you know, it's going to be a wake-up call for the masses when all of this hits the general public. But yeah, we do have a deadline. China's on board. Russia's on board. Brazil is on board. India's on board. The disclosure is not just happening in the States. I know the disclosure is happening everywhere. And this is it. You know, this is what we've all been waiting for, which is the beginning stages of a whole new golden age, not only here in America, but for the entire planet.
Well, holy shit, you're on a roll, bro. Holy shit. Wow. You even said a mouthful. So you basically, I heard you say, Mel Carmine, yes, you're going to be very rich. Yes, you're going to be very wealthy in character as well. And you're going to be also having your flying anti-gravitic machine that can do 117,000 miles an hour, get you anywhere on Earth real fast with no mass inertia inside, which means I can drink my latte and it's not going to spill over. And it's not going to be driven by me. It'll be driven by artificial intelligence on steroids, benevolent systems, etc. And yes, we're going to get to have an incredible lifespan thanks to this one particular gentleman who's making a lot of headway right now by the name of David Sinclair. David Sinclair is a god, okay, or a god sent, okay? He is literally restructuring genes, taking 90-year-old genes and putting them inside of your body again, but they've been reprogrammed to go, I think he said something like 20 years old. So from 90 to 20, that's a 70-year reduction. And when those genes are there, they're actually as new and as good, if not better than when you were 20. And you will start to see your body rejuvenate. The wrinkles go away, your bones get better. It doesn't happen rapidly, but this is the first phase, I believe. Call it med beds, call it whatever, call it modern science, call it a better system of the medical system. We want to get away with the old system that's trying to kill us all, etc. What do you know about David Sinclair? I want to talk to you about a lot of things. I want to talk to you about flat Earth. I want to talk to you about the Earth dome that they say. I want to talk to you about the ice wall. I want to talk to you about the inner Earth. I want to talk to you about space. I want to talk to you about the underground railing systems. There's going to be a lot on the table here. So let's start with
Let's start with the new system, the new financial system. What are they saying as far as a timeline? There's a lot of people throwing dates out there. You know me long enough. We've known each other now for what, 5, 6 years at least. And you
Mhm.
know that I don't do dates. So, what are they saying as far as timelines, and what could derail it to where another timeline happens?
Well, this new financial system and this new world, you could say, era was already scheduled back in 2018. And the only reason why things have been delayed is because of this temporal timeline war that is taking place in the future. And this timeline war, and that explains the Mandela effect, alternative Earth realities, is constantly, that's what's causing the flux within our timeline. However, due to the triple temporal alliance that was initiated by Nikola Tesla, who was a white hat, and John Trump, who is the uncle of Trump, they were able to secure the positive timeline on every probable future Earth reality. So in either case, it's destined. We're entering this golden age. It's not only been prophesied about, but thanks to Nikola Tesla and John Trump, they were able to, because they did perfect time travel before the military industrial complex did, they were able to secure every probable future Earth timeline and victory of the alliance. And so no matter what happens, my friends, we are going to be witnessing a huge transformation on planet Earth on every level of reality, not just politically, economically, scientifically, but also educationally, in terms of spiritual beliefs. We're going to be witnessing the end of organized religion. There is no timeline as far as given a date, but what we do know is that between 2028, give or take, let's just say that, this current artificial matrix, which is what we call the current timeline, comes to a collapse. And so in either case, either we end up going into some sort of technocratic dystopia, or we are ascending with the planet into a higher, better world reality. And so that's a choice we all have to make. But the time is ticking and the timelines are already beginning to split. So, in either case, it's happening. We've already secured the war. And the reason John Trump and Nikola Tesla call themselves the Triple Temporal Alliance is because they were also able to time travel back to 2,000 years ago and meet with John the Revelator, the author of the Apocalypse, the last book of the Bible. And they were able to inform him on what's going to be happening in the future. And so he was tasked with writing 2 books, the Book of Q, which is a detailed explanation of every event that is not only leading to the collapsing and dismantling of the cabal so that we could enter the new golden age, but also a parallel book was written, but in metaphor form. And this is what we call the Book of Revelation, which is a book of metaphors. So the Book of Metaphors was the one that was published in the Bible for various reasons. First of all, during those days when the Roman Empire reorganized as the Vatican, when the Caesars took off their togas and put on religious robes and became the first popes, the alliance back then, through Nikola Tesla, John Trump, and John the Revelator, who was also an alliance, played the Vatican by writing this book of metaphors where it would be very hard to interpret. So the Vatican had access to the book of metaphors, but what the Vatican didn't have access, knowing that the Vatican was after all the records, right? Eventually the Vatican did prove to what's called seize a lot of the libraries and records that existed during those days, hence the Library of Alexandria, which was a depository of the ancient civilization of Atlantis and what happened before the flood. Knowing that the Triple Temporal Alliance were actually capable of securing the Book of Q. And in the Book of Q, that's where they wrote the exact details as to how they were able to pin down the cabal on every probable reality, on every Earth alternative timeline. So it doesn't matter when it happens. What matters is that we won the war. And what matters is that we're all going to be witnessing, we're all going to be experiencing this beautiful transformation, this beautiful change together. And again, a lot of it has to do with, first, the releasing of all classified information. And so every month, the Pentagon, under the direction of, not the Pentagon, but Congress rather, under the direction of the White Hat military, they have to release more and more documents, more and more footage. They have to not only give protection to the witnesses and the defectors of the military industrial complex, but they have to also allow these whistleblowers to come forth and pretty much give their testimony on what they know. So all that is part of what's happening. But again, it's not just happening here in this country, it's happening globally.
Right.
Now, to answer your question about the flat Earth, I personally believe that that is a CIA psyop. There's no way in heck that our Earth is a pancake unless you're, of course, perceiving it from the second dimension in terms of physics, right? Point A to point B, flat surface, then the Earth is flat. But living in a three-dimensional hologram reality, it is a sphere. And so these other hidden continents are not existing outside of a massive wall that surrounds the whole planet. No, 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 no. It is a portal that is accessible through the North Pole and the South Pole. So, of course, Antarctica is one of the entry points to these other continents where these advanced civilizations that are actually remnants of ancient Atlantis, ancient Lemuria, who still exist in perfect condition up until the present moment. These people have lifespans of thousands of years. So you have to understand that these other continents or these other civilizations that are existing within the Earth is hollowed. And again, this is information that is provable through, of course, all of the classified information that is about to be released. So yeah, the Flat Earth PSYOPs was actually designed to debunk the secret space program because the whole premise of the Flat Earth PSYOPs is based on the idea that there are no galaxies, that there are no stars, that everything is fixed within this dome, right? They call it the fishbowl theory. The sun and the moon and the stars are all within the dome, therefore negating the fact that we live in a vast cosmos, right? Where there's billions of stars within the Milky Way, billions of galaxies within the universe. And then again, that is only 4% of what we're able to perceive. The other 96% is what they called dark matter and dark energy. So we don't even have the capability. We don't even have the technology to perceive the other 96% of the so-called missing cosmos. So when all of this disclosure takes place, I'm sorry to say this, but a lot of folks that are unawakened it's going to be very hard for them to digest the truth about everything. So yeah, these advanced civilizations are not only,
and you find out that the Earth is round and there's irrefutable evidence about that, I don't think you're gonna break down and go into a mental institution, right?
well, I hope not. I hope that people,
I don't think that that's gonna be the case, right?
Yeah.
But
I hope
here's
not.
the thing. When there's a rainbow, it's always round. Yesterday I was driving, there was a storm coming over on the highway going towards Cape Canaveral, and there's this huge rainbow and it's round. It's never straight up. I never see a rainbow go straight up. So there are videos that are there. I'm sure you've seen some of the videos yourself about flat earthers. They do make a very compelling argument about a lot of things. I've seen where people book a trip and they're going all over the map and then they make the flat map and they show you why that's how the trip goes, because the Earth is flat, which is a very compelling video. I've showed that video here many times. There's another video of a gentleman who is a high-ranking military naval, and he said, well, we got lasers that could shoot targets 150, 200 miles out. That laser is absolutely straight, and that would not work very well on a planet that is round. It's an argument. Whether you like to believe it or not, it is an argument. Now, is the Earth maybe bigger than what it is? And maybe when you shoot the laser out straight for 200 miles, it's still level because the Earth is so huge, maybe bigger than what we think or bigger than what they told us? Possibility.
It is.
Wall, right? The ice wall. There's people that live on the other side of the ice wall, the inner Earth. Is there space? And if there is space, maybe you can't get to it from here because, again, I live right 10 miles from the launch pad where they launched the missile. If you were to hold a string straight to the launch pad, I bet you it's less than 10 miles. My house rattles. My house shakes from the actual engines. Okay. My dogs go crazy because they don't know what it is. I call it Max no fly zone. My dog's name is Max. But anyway, long story short, the thing always goes in a curvature. Why does it go in a curvature? Maybe you can explain to the audience and shed some light on. Maybe we're just not getting it. Support the movement. Visit QFS1776.com for exclusive one-of-a-kind merch that makes a powerful statement. Protect your wealth. Cash is trash. Go to carminesgold.com and secure real assets, silver, gold, delivered anywhere in the U.S. Text Mel at 786-704-8817. Looking to acquire XRP? Minimum is $10,000 investment, and there is no limit, even up to $100 million worth. Again, text Mel with full details at
704 8817 and allow up to 24 hours for a response. And if by chance you're visiting Cape Canaveral or you are a local, visit stayingalive.com, alive with two E's, and recharge your body at the cellular level.
Well, they could use technology to give the illusion of. And so you have to understand that the military industrial complex has holographic technology, advanced holographic technology, where they could make anybody see anything they want. So, a lot of these tactics have been implemented to fool the masses about the true nature of the earth. But, when you study the secret knowledge, when you study the cosmic records, every planet is a sphere. It's just the way energy works. You have to understand that there is this thing called the funnel. The funnel is spinning at the center. So the universe, the way the universe is constructed is that the universe is a funnel. You have the great central sun, which is spewing universal life force to all the billions of galaxies. And then in turn, each galaxy, which is a holographic replica of the universe, right? In a smaller aspect, each galaxy also has a funnel, which is what we call a black hole, assuming to be a black hole, but really is a spinning force, the funnel, right? That's the way energy works. And like manner, stars have a magnetic north and magnetic south. Planets have a magnetic north and a magnetic south. Without that structure, there is no life. It's just the way energy works. Energy is always in spin rotation. And if you want to incorporate metaphysical spiritual knowledge like mysticism, well, you've heard of the light body, the Merkaba, known by multiple names. When we humans activate the light body, what we're actually activating is the energy vehicle, which is connected or activated through the chakras, and those are aligned. And when the chakras are spinning, right, it collapses the different colors of the rainbow, allowing for a sphere of light to all of a sudden emanate from your center outward like this, like a funnel. So energy goes out and energy comes back in underneath you through your root chakra, and it goes back out like that. And when you spin that chakra, the more energy you generate, the more lighter you become, the more access you have to your energy vehicles, which again, this is what the mystics teach for those that are interested in that. But it's just the way energy works, my friend. Everything is connected to what scientists call a centrifugal force model. And what that is that everything has a center, a spin. Without the spin, there is no motion. Without the motion, there is no inertia. Without inertia, there's no gravity. And without gravity, there's no electromagnetic field. So even the fundamental forces, the electromagnetic field, the weak force, the strong force, the gravitational force, which ultimately collapse to a singular force. Well, that singular force is the spin, the toroidal field. So within the secret space program, some of these secret scientists that have been working with these breakaway groups, they've mastered what is known as torsion physics. Well, torsion physics is the way in which they could access free energy technology. So what they do is, instead of using combustion like we have on the surface level, they just tap into planetary power, which is the toroidal field of Earth, which gives them access to unlimited raw energy. And then furthermore, for those that are even more advanced, they tap into the toroidal field of stars. Now, you tap into the toroidal field of stars, my friend, you're going to have access to the entire galaxy at the speed of light.
Well, before we go any further, how do people find you? It's really important for people to follow your work. You have amazing books out there. You have done a lot of homework for a lot of us to basically shorten the and compress the time frames instead of us going and doing all the research. You've done it for us. So we thank you. We owe you a great deal of gratitude for that. So how do people find you?
Through one portal, and that is my website, ourcosmicorigin.com. That's where you could access all my links, my classes. I teach 3 different level ascension courses for beginners, intermediates, where I teach you how to quantum jump, how to connect to the quantum field and manipulate reality. And then I teach Ascension 3.0, where I teach you how to collapse all of your chakras and connect to what we call the cosmic self, so that you could begin accessing your multidimensionality. And then, of course, my channel is The Real Ishmael Perez, where I'm constantly giving updates. I'm giving White Hat Alliance reports on Monday night. I'm giving Ascension Energy updates on Wednesday night. And on Saturday night, I give Galactic updates at 6 o'clock Pacific time through my channel, The Real Ishmael Perez.
And you would not be soliciting people to put your XRP into a quantum wallet or anything like that. I'm sure there's a few fake Ishmael Perez's out there.
Yeah, there's a few fake Ishmael Perez's that are trying to sell people stuff. So, just have discernment. I don't reach out to people about any financial means. In fact, I don't even reach out to people at all. I don't use social media. I don't DM people. They're just piling up all my DMs.
Got you. So if you see
Yeah,
anybody out there and it's not him, report them to Facebook, report them to
exactly.
YouTube, etc. Let's get these clowns out of business, okay? I got
Absolutely.
something that I'm working on. I'll talk to you about off camera that is absolutely revolutionary. But anyway, so the ice wall, there is an ice wall, correct? And the
Well,
ice
it's not
wall.
necessarily an ice wall. It's a portal. It's a
Mhm,
portal that leads to a different region of the
mhm.
earth, which is located inside the earth. So the wall is not like we think. The wall was actually constructed. There is a wall, but it's not as big as we think. It was constructed by the Nazis when the Nazis took over Antarctica to build out their secret space program as early as the 1930s, late 1930s. So they did create a wall, but it wasn't a wall that we think that surrounds the entire planet. There is no
Yeah.
wall that surrounds the
Yeah.
entire planet.
I want to get back to your flat earth theory, and you say that there's a lot of people out there that have obviously the means and the wherewithal to be able to pull the wool over our eyes, so to speak,
Exactly.
and to be
Yeah.
able to do some artificial intelligence before we even called it artificial intelligence. They've had access to this many, many years ago. Say so they can emulate, for example, a spaceship hitting the dome, and it looks like they're hitting water. It looks like there's a boat on the water with some
Well,
guy.
they explode it, so it could they could have a reason to say, "Oh, look, it didn't make the wall; it hit something, and so it exploded, or it hit and it came back down." But that's all programmed. That's all designed to do
Artificial
that. So,
intelligence from the CIA, artificial intelligence from the
some of
Federation.
it is deep fake. Yeah, some of it is deep fake. So where they're using fake videos
Mhm.
generated by AI,
Yeah.
and some of it is advanced holographic technology, which is the same technology that they were going to use for Project Bluebeam in the event that they had to stage a fake alien invasion.
Mhm.
But that is not going to happen anymore because the Galactic Alliance has full jurisdiction over what happens on the Earth now. You see, most people think that, our planet is being run by the world governments. Well, to a degree, but in essence, we have these higher intelligences that exist in higher dimensions that are actually influencing things in our planet. And this has been happening for thousands of years. All you have to do is read the Old Testament of the Bible, and that Old Testament is all about UFOs and having contact with UFOs.
Yeah. Well, we've been contained on this planet. We're not allowed to get off the earth. We're still driving an extension of a Model T Ford. We're still driving an extension of the horse and buggy, the round wheel. Okay.
Yeah.
And we're not allowed to get off here. And then now they want to give us the flying cars that have propellers that are basically a scaled up version of your thing that you do cinemas with. What do they call those?
Right.
What do they call those things that fly around that take pictures and videos? Drones, right?
The drones, yeah.
Yeah. So they're a glorified version of a drone. Obviously, those things are not going to be able to go to 100,000 feet high to get a view, whether it's flat, round, square, rectangular, triangular. Nobody's so there's still going to be a level of containment. When do we get to see and hear and understand of all the secrets of the universe? How far are we from that? Are we hundreds of years still away from
Not at
being
all.
able? No,
Not at all. I would say within the next 3 to 5 years or less. But yeah, that's,
it's going to blow off.
things are going to be happening already this summer, this summer, but people have to make the choice. We're also expecting what many insiders call a timeline split, where energetically, not physically, based on people's vibration,
Mhm.
there's going to be a shift where some are going to be going up in dimensions, right? The Earth is a multidimensional construct. So even in other dimensions, the Earth is just more than just round. It becomes more complex. That's how dimensions work as we go into these higher dimensions. So for the people of the Earth that are good people, that are not wicked, they're going to be ascending into a higher level reality of the Earth, where heaven on earth exists, where things are in harmony with nature, with one another, where we live as brothers, like brothers and sisters. And then for those that are not good, they're going to go into a negative aspect of the earth where the AI does take over and rules under a one world government. Then everybody's reduced to freaking, transhumans. But that's, a choice that people have to make. Right now, both of those timelines are coexisting at the same time simultaneously, right now. So right now we're seeing the rollout of AI like never before. We're seeing a lot of people losing their jobs to AI. Self-driving cars are just everywhere all of a sudden. This is going to happen fast. So, it's all coexisting, but at the same time, we have another group of humans that are going off grid, that are building the new heaven on earth, that are light warriors, light workers, that are co-creating ways of living in harmony with nature and amongst themselves. And so eventually those two realities are going to just split. So this is what many ancient and holy books call the harvest or the rapture. Those are different terminologies describing this split, the splitting of timelines. So right now they're all coexisting, but very soon, my friend, as stated in the book Revelation, and in the book of Q, I can't wait for them to release that, but it's all going to be happening very, very shortly. I just don't want to give any dates, but it's always good to be prepared. It's always good to be grounded and just know where you stand in terms of the frequency that you're emitting. That's what I tell my viewers. Know where you stand, because if you're not in the right frequency, when this splitting of timelines takes place, you don't want to end up in the wrong timeline. All right. You want to end up in the timeline that is ascending organically, that is going up in dimensions, right? We're heading back to the sacred earth. We're heading back to the Garden of Eden. Well, you have to make sure you're vibing with that timeline.
Yeah. Now, as far as you're concerned, are we going to get these 10 days of darkness or 26 days of darkness or 17 days?
That's still a probable, you could say, reality within the spectrum of positive timelines. And either way, all of these timelines that have been won by the Triple Temporal Alliance, it only leads to one thing, and that is a positive Earth timeline, where we do see a massive change, not only politically, but again, a restructuring of world societies that will ultimately be benefiting humanity instead of suppressing humanity. It will uplift humanity. So in either case, that's the reality that we're heading into for those that are vibing, of course, through their frequency, right? Not the wicked. The wicked are going to go into a different timeline. They have to reap what they sowed. So, there's also the factor of karma. So,
well, there's always a factor of carmine too.
Exactly.
Karma or carmine. One of them will get. Let's talk about the anti-gravitic flying car. To me, that turns me on even more so than having, 5 Lamborghinis and 2 Ferraris in the garage and showing off to all my friends that I still own a extension of a Model T Ford. Yes, it's got some cool features to it and it looks really sleek and it attracts a lot of girls, which I don't need because I'm married. So bottom line is I would rather have a flying machine that does 117,000 miles an hour or 17,000 miles an hour, depending how fast I want to go. I can at least regulate that if I want to take the scenic route. How far are we from them? Is there going to be a price tag associated with it? Will the Mel Carmines of the world be able to afford it, etc.? To me, look, I know that we have teleportation patent. The United States government has a patent. Let me repeat that. Go look it up. The United States has a patent. I don't know what that number is, but you could easily find it on Google for teleportation. They could make you disintegrate and reintegrate here, and you could be going from Port Canaveral to Australia in literally seconds, not minutes, seconds. They have that technology. They have a patent on it. So technically speaking, we are way beyond flying cars, but because people have controlled our future, they have allowed us to skip that entire generation of owning and flying vehicles. So I want to experience it. I might get bored in 6 months and 8 months and say, get rid of this garbage. Give me the teleportation technology. Or I may enjoy it and might want to fly around my flying Lamborghini, whatever you want to call it, for the next 20 years. I have no idea. Tell us, is there going to be a cost associated with it? Is there not going to be? What are the Galactic telling you?
Well, due to the fact that those that make the positive timeline transition, because everyone's going to have abundance, you're going to be able to have anything you want. Okay. And there's going to be different layers of the earth overlapping. One's going to be on top of the other. So you have the 4th dimensional earth where all of these technologies are going to be rolled out. And that's the earth that we call the Star Trek, the beginning of a Star Trek future. Replicators, anti-gravity aircraft. And then you have a higher layer of the earth where some of the older souls that are considered starseeds are going to be ascending into. And that's what we call the 5th dimensional earth. Now, in the 5th dimensional earth and above, because these advanced souls are going to be using the internal technology, nobody really talks about that, which is going to allow them to connect with all living things. They're going to be using that to materialize, manifest, teleport, travel at the speed of light through their own technology, which is the light body. In other words, they won't be depending on external technology. Those that are going to be depending on external technology are the younger souls, which is the majority of humans that are going to be existing in the fourth dimensional Earth reality. And in that fourth dimensional Earth reality, they will have an opportunity to learn ascension, to learn how to continue evolving into beings where they no longer need external technology. So, that's another thing that not a lot of people talk about. See, most people think that we're going into this new reality where we're all going to be there. No, depending on your frequency, you're either going to go into a higher reality or, into the reality that most people go to. So again, there's going to be different dimensions or versions of the Earth when we go into these higher timelines.
Yeah,
So
I totally agree. By the way, did you know that I've become somewhat of a movie producer, a successful one at that? I just come up with my movie Dear Mr. President Part 2, which has to do with the straw man. I'm sure you're familiar with the straw man, where they create a duplicate of you, which is a twin created by the state, the all caps name. They trade everything you do with your money on the stock exchange, and you're worth hundreds of millions of dollars, in some cases billions of dollars, and we're not allowed to access the money. The movie is literally on fire. People are talking about it everywhere. People are sharing it everywhere. There are some people that are complaining. 17 people. The actual number of complaints we've had is 17. Nothing to do with the movie being bad or good, but being to do with the movie not loading. So if your movie's not loading, it's because you live in the log cabin in the middle of the woods somewhere and you got 1/2 meg of internet. My suggestion to you is very simple. Hit the play button, go to sleep at night, hit the play button early in the morning, go to sleep at night, wake up the next day, go have some breakfast, go have some coffee, brush your teeth, take a shower, come back to your computer, and then hit play, and I guarantee you it will play. But everybody who's watched the movie is basically raving, saying, hey, can I watch this more than once? Yes. People have watched it more than once. Can I have a watch party? Yes. Can I invite 20 people to come in my living room and watch it with me? Yes. So it's an incredible movie. I'd like to send it to you if you want to share that with your audience at some point, because I think everybody needs to know that they are already wealthy, but someone's hiding it from us. And so I made the movie on a 3rd grade level of education, which is really the reason why I think it's blowing up, because everybody's getting it for the first time. People was watching this stuff before and they were like scratching their head. They're like, what the hell's going on? They didn't understand it because people were trying to explain it where it was too complicated. Right. But anyway, it's a great movie. So let's talk a little bit about David Sinclair. Does David Sinclair have anything to do with the Galactic Federation? He's an incredible scientist at Harvard. He's got a team of guys. They're literally 2 inches away from, tapping into longevity that we have never seen on this planet for a very long time. We know that it exists with other races. We know it exists in other timelines. We know it exists on other planets, etc. But here on Earth, we're still dying at 90 years. I mean, look, you're born on this planet, right? And they're trading you. They're making billions of dollars off your ass. You work until you're 65. By the time you're 65, most of us are on a walker, okay? Your hips are going, your joints are going, you're falling apart. And if you're lucky enough to have, a good life and leverage and figure out how to become wealthy, maybe you get 20, 30 years of being able to walk the beaches of the earth. But that's not the case for 99.9999999% of all of us, right? So what is wrong with that picture? What is wrong with think about the people that are born today, right? They're born today and they're coming into this AI world, into this robotics world. Some of the people that are born today will never have to go to work. Do you realize that?
Right.
Isn't that wonderful? I think that's wonderful. People say, oh, no, it's going to breed laziness. No, laziness is something that the CIA created to embed in your brain, in your stupid fucking brain, right? That you're lazy if you don't go to work. No, people are going to get creative. People are going to do things that are going to be unbelievable because they have time on their hands to get productive and do something that's wonderful for society. That's where I live. Where do you live?
Well, not only are we going to be seeing breakthroughs in longevity where people are going to have the ability to live for a few hundred years, it's already in the making. through the scientists and doctors such as David, but even other scientists and engineers that have defected from the aerospace companies that were working in secret with the breakaway groups. A lot of these scientists that have defected, they were actually given a choice by the Galactics and the White Hats that if they defect from these negative programs and use their geniuses to begin developing the technologies for the general public, when, of course, we do disclosure, that they will not be going to Gitmo, right? They're going to be spared. So a lot of these scientists and also some new scientists that were never part of these dark organizations are also being groomed by members of the Galactic Alliance. There are different cities that are considered the first interstellar hubs, or at least they're going to be called that, where we're going to have humans and galactics interacting in a safe haven, right? They're going to be called interstellar sanctuary cities. And one of them happens to be here in Sedona, by the way, which is a huge spot for, craft and UFO phenomena. But it's also happening in Mount Shasta, Boise, Idaho, Denver, Colorado,
Cape
San
Canaveral,
Francisco.
Florida.
One of them, I believe, is in Florida, yes.
Canaveral.
But these sanctuary cities, they're already grooming these scientists that are going to be instrumental in the development of these advanced civil technologies on a mass scale, of course.
We have
So-
clients that come to stayingalive.com, alive with two E's, guys. Stayingalive.com. If you come through Cape Canaveral, pull the body over and put it into the human charging station at Cape Canaveral. Okay. Go to the website, go check out the testimonials. We have had people who are clients of ours have shown us videos that are so compelling about triangular crafts flying over in the Cape Canaveral area, right where the launch pad is, etc., that are breathtaking. I mean, real clear video and pictures. I could tell you that there is a vortex here. There's a reason why NASA, never a straight answer, is here. There's never been a hurricane here. Never a direct hit. We've had tropical storms, yes. Last year, Trump's in full power. First year, no hurricanes. This year, if there's no hurricanes this year, we can clearly say, yes, the White Hats are controlling the weather. So this is another vortex over here. You've heard about Cape Canaveral being a vortex?
It's nearby, but yeah, I mean, it is included. It's within the vicinity of Cape Canaveral.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because there's definitely an energy field here that we cannot explain. Hence the reason why our machines are uber better than anything else that's out there, even though it's like 1989 technology. And we're about to upgrade. We're gonna go from the Ford, which works. We're going to go to the Ferrari. I'm going to make a big introduction here soon with my friend Bill, and you guys are going to be flabbergasted of the information that we're going to release to the general public. And we're gonna probably build a $70 billion dollar company from what we got going on. Bill is a multi-billionaire. He's done it many times before, and he's very excited about it. As a matter of fact, he was at our center 3 days ago. He came to visit us surprisingly with his son, and he loves our layout. He's like, I could feel the energy. Here's where we're going to do it. And he's going to be on stage with us in Cape Canaveral doing events, etc. So, the one thing I do want to speak with you about also is the underground railing system. They're about to give credit to Elon Musk. You and I both know, and we're smart enough to know, that Elon Musk did not do the boring company. They gave him the boring company name, which is laughable. It's comical at best. I know because I've talked to John Lear. His father was the gentleman who actually created the Lear jet back in the 50s, the business jet, the first business jet. And him and I talked at length about this. And he's also been quoted by yours truly, Kerry Cassidy, saying that, he talks to a lot of the admirals, and a lot of times he'll ask him questions. Hey, how are the DUMs? The DUMs are not the deep underground bunkers, but the DUMs are basically these tunneling systems that were built by extraterrestrials. What do you know about them? What could you tell me about them?
Well, the military-industrial complex did receive help by the negative extraterrestrials, but again, they used our scientists. Our scientists are, once you give them the blueprints of building or engineering anything, they're maverick at it. So it was actually a joint operation between Navy ETs and military-industrial complex that built out all the underground tunnels that connect all the cities underground worldwide, by the way. However, the Alliance has been, of course, recuperating, right? They've been actually seizing, because some of these cities are beautiful layouts. Some of these cities, they don't want to just destroy some of these cities that they build in the underground, miles down underground, just to, give people a clear understanding of how deep they are. But they did take out all the reptilians. They did check out a lot of the unauthorized genetic alien experiments that were conducted, cloning facilities where they were creating chimeras and all kinds of different hybrids between
Right.
us and them. So all of that was taken out. And so from what I hear is that the Alliance has actually seized a lot of these underground cities. And no, Elon Musk didn't build any underground anything. However, Elon Musk will be giving a lot of credit when it comes to the rolling out of anti-gravity aircraft. So it's going to be like SpaceX and Space Force are going to be working together all of a sudden, which is going to be fascinating.
Yeah, well, I was told by the late John Lear that you could go into a bank and you have to go through a couple of doors. You have to have special clearances, et cetera, special magnetic passes that open up these doors, and all of a sudden you go
Yeah.
downstairs and then you're through another secret door, and then boom, you're in some tunneling system that you cannot explain.
Yeah.
And you could be in Beijing, China, in an hour and 45 minutes, and they're about to credit this guy with it because he looks like a genius. The guy can't even speak properly. You and I speak much more better than he does, So let's do a part 2 to this. If you guys want to see more of Ishmael Perez, please let me know down below. Should he be on the Mel Carmine show once a week, once every 2 weeks, once a month? I need to know, because we'll schedule him and we'll just, like clockwork, every second Monday of every month, whatever, and we'll bring him on for you guys to enjoy. As I absolutely enjoyed this interview as much as you probably enjoyed some of the questions. Don't forget, Dear Mr. President, part 2, dearmrpresident.net, dearmrpresident.net. Okay. The movie is, listen, go watch it for yourself. Okay. It's $5.89, 0.17th of a penny, 0.117th of a penny. We're trying to attract two crowds here. You know who you guys are. Okay. Go watch the movie and spread it out there, because you will feel compelled to do so. Mr. Ishmael Perez, it was an absolute honor and a pleasure as usual. And I can't wait to see you again in the flesh, and we'll break some bread and we'll do some grandiose things. If you got 2 minutes, I would like to bring you in on the latest developments that we just had with my wife and some of our team.
Sure.
How did he find you again?
Through my website, ourcosmicorigin.com, or the real Ishmael Perez.
Cosmicorigin.com.
Yeah.
Ourcosmicorigin.com. Ishmael Perez. Thank you.
Thank you.